it's okay saying it's rare, but when you've got to sit and watch your child go through this, you know, it's not an excuse, you know, it's just not, because you just sort of feel, well, how many people have you got to lose? How many children have got to suffer before you actually agree that it's, you know, that it's not? I get very, very frustrated, very angry, especially because, you know, if somebody would have realised this a few years ago, maybe Cam would still be here.
Around 50 to 60 children a year are diagnosed with a rare disease called histiocytosis. Histiocytosis is a condition where sufferers have an abnormal increase of immune cells called histiocytes. The two main strains of the disease are Langerhans cell histiocytosis, shortened to LCH, where histiocytes attack different parts of the body, causing problems such as bone lesions. LCH patients are treated with chemotherapy and steroids. The other main strain of histiocytosis is hemophagocytic lymphohistiocytosis, called HLH, a rare immune disorder for which the only current cure is a bone marrow transplant. Every parent's worst nightmare is having an ill child, and this nightmare became a reality for Anne Devenny when she discovered a rash on her youngest son, Cameron. And after 4 long months of testing, he was diagnosed with HLH.
They'd got the results back and asked us to come straight in with him, and they told us he had HLH, which we sort of thought, oh, what's that? You know, that's okay, that's fine, you know. And I remember being quite flippant about it, and our consultant sort of looked quite gravely at me and said, no, this is a serious life-threatening illness.
When we make the diagnosis of HLH or LCH, that's always a very difficult time for the family. We try to explain that depending on the age of the child and where the disease is, what the prognosis is going to be, what the treatment is going to be, and how we're going to try and help the child get better.
Diagnosis is not the only difficulty with a rare disease. Rare diseases need specialist treatment, and this isn't always as easily available to everyone.
There is a postcode lottery in rare diseases. I mean, if you happen to live in Camden, in London, you would rapidly end up in Great Ormond Street, I'm sure. And since they do have 12 or 15 cases a year, that's a large number for this disease. And the more you see, you know, the better you treat them generally. So it is a bit of a postcode lottery, I'm afraid. And the sooner you get routed to a specialist centre for something as rare as this, the better for you, I'm sure. But the penalty then is that you spend all your time shuttling up and down to London or, you know, some other major city, and that's expensive, it's time consuming, it's exhausting for the family and the patient.
Lisa Neal's son, Jason, was diagnosed with LCH, and he is now in remission.
He had a biopsy and a bone marrow aspirate. And then we found out 2 weeks later that it was definitely LCH. I remember when he was diagnosed, we asked his consultant, you know, if they had any literature on it, anything at all, if there was anywhere they could send us, and he knew nothing, there was nothing at all. We just, a lack of information. Hasn't come back, fingers crossed, he's happy, absolutely perfect, lovable little boy. But it's obviously something, you know, that'll hang over us for life. You know, it can come back at any time.
Baby Cameron wasn't as lucky as Jason. Although the bone marrow transplant given by his 5-year-old brother Kieran was a success, Cameron soon developed serious complications.
His stomach swelled up so massively, he couldn't lay down, he was too uncomfortable, and it was pushing everything up, so it was pushing his lungs up, he was struggling to breathe. And we used to have to prop him up on pillows. His skin was so tight, it was prone to just being so sore, and you couldn't touch him because his skin would have torn. The next complication was skin graft versus host disease, which I just shortened to GVHD. And his skin literally blistered up. It was almost like severe sunburn, but coming from the inside. And he was in agony, he was itching all the time, and he looked like a burns victim because he'd got no hair and he just looked like he'd been burnt all over. It was just awful to see him again go through something else.
Rare diseases aren't allocated funding for research by the government due to the National Health Service's limited resources.
If we send in an application saying we've got a wonderful treatment for HLH, and the NHS then asks us, well, how many people are you going to treat a year? And we say, well, it might be 100, but it's probably less. They will say, well, we've got applications here for a wonderful new treatment for rheumatoid arthritis. How many people are they going to treat? Well, 100,000 a year. Where would you put your money? Into the treatment which will benefit 100,000 people. They always favour spending their money on the diseases which are common. And it's hard to argue with that, actually. If you want to, have the maximum benefit, it's hopeless.
Without research and funding, children that are affected by this disease won't have much hope for the future, as treatment and support cannot be increased without funds. At the moment, the only money helping families is coming from their own fundraising.
If you go out to the country, to the public, and say, I want to raise money for breast cancer, well, everyone knows someone who's had breast cancer, so they have a friend who's had it. If you say, I'm out there, I want money for histiocytosis support or research, most people don't know a person with histiocytosis. So yeah, fundraising is difficult for all of the rare diseases, I think.
Cameron Devaney was diagnosed with HLH at 15 months old, and he died just 5 months later.
It took them 5 hours to get him stable. And I just remember thinking, 5 hours is a long time. It was I kept trying to go back in the room to him because I was worried he was scared. I just remember the nurse coming out and saying, he's one of the sickest children in the country right now. And just thinking, he's going to die. I know he's going to die. And they tried desperately to save him. They tried everything. So they basically took the decision out of our hands to turn his machines off because he was on the sort of the highest level of ventilation, and it was the machine that kept him alive for the last 4 weeks. They turned his machine off and he passed. He just went so peacefully. Yeah, even through everything he went through, he could still smile. You just don't want it for anybody else. You don't want the kids to go through it. You don't want the parents to go through it. And it's also cruel and unfair. And that's why I fight now, because it's not right that other families should go through what we have to do and lose their beautiful, precious children.
I was looking forward for him to share a room with me, but he didn't get a chance.
Although histiocytosis is rare, it's affecting families all over the world every day, and telling them that there's less help because it's so rare doesn't help the children that are trying to fight it.
It's too late for Cameron, but it's not too late for the others.
And ignite.